One. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben, that's Josh, and we are alive and well. It is, as Josh says, getting cold. It is the end of November coming up, which means a lot of great rivalry games are happening in college football. You have different things in the NFL happening. You have basketball underway and things happening in that. So many different things. I'm in a new actually view. If you guys didn't notice, a new computer, new view. It's all kind of crazy for me. But Josh, how are you doing, my guy?
Hanging in there. I think I'm coming down with some kind of sickness. Hopefully it doesn't escalate, but it
Don't
is
give it
cold
to me.
outside.
Don't
Yeah.
give it to me.
Yeah, just stay 6 hours away, okay? Or
I
into the
will.
future.
Promise. I
More like
promise.
10, 11 hours away if we're actually traveling. But anyway, yeah, we had a random warm day and then it went back to normal again.
Well, that's just Ohio weather for you. That's what
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah, 60 some degrees outside. It was great. Little wind, little rain, but no, you take 60 over 35, which it is right
Yeah.
now.
No, that's true. And I would take any warmth I get. Right. But anyways, Josh, we have a lot to talk about. I mean, there's a lot of football stuff, both pro, college, and I know you wanted to hit some very key points that have been happening over the last few days. But actually, something that happened, I think maybe we start where what happened today as we're recording this. We're recording this on the 18th, and some big news happened today.
Yeah, either today or late last night, we have a coaching hire. We've been talking about all the coach firings, and we have our first hire, I believe, of the 2026 cycle, and that would be James Franklin, Ben. James Franklin is on his way to Virginia Tech. Uh,
Wild.
yeah,
That's
this
just so
was,
weird, dude. That's the weirdest hire, man. I'm
it
sorry.
sounds weird, but I personally love it. This has been a rumor for a little while that they were discussing things and I didn't think it was ever going to happen because, if I'm James Franklin, I feel like I'm a little better than Virginia Tech. Like I've worked my way up the ranks to get to Penn State and was, in position in the Final Four to play for a national championship last year.
Yeah.
And then you have, the season this year and everyone forgets everything that you've done up to this point and you get fired and I mean, this is a guy that's won 9 games at Vanderbilt before.
Hmm.
This is a guy that's won, around 10 games, I'd say, most seasons at Penn State. For Virginia Tech to come in and get a guy that I feel like is a top 10, top 15 head coach, I think that's, absolutely, home run for the program. We'll
Hmm.
see if the athletic department and the NIL, collectives and everything can come on board with him. But to me, this move just tells me that Virginia Tech's tired of, being one of the runts to the ACC and is ready to compete again like they were when we were kids.
Yeah, it's an interesting move for me, Josh. I look at it as like you basically have a guy who I almost wonder if he's taking this job as like he doesn't want to be in the limelight as much, at least early on. Um, I don't know about you, but that's just the vibe this gives me because he could have went anywhere he wanted to. He could have coached at any of the big schools that are opening. Most schools would have loved to have him. Do you feel that that's the kind of the way maybe he's leaning? Like, I just want to be out of the spotlight just for a little bit, just so I don't have to have this burden of always being that top level. At least that's what I see. And again, I love the move for Virginia Tech. You go out and get a guy who's competed for Big Ten championships. He's won a Big Ten championship. And in a weird way, you give him a chance to prove himself once more. Um, I just think that this maybe for James is like a way to step back. What do you think on that?
I don't know when you hear rumors about all the SEC jobs, like who's rumored to get the job at LSU and who's rumored to get the job at Arkansas and Auburn and Florida, you never really hear James Franklin's name
Yeah.
mentioned. You're hearing Lane Kiffin floated around, you're hearing John Summerall floated around, you're hearing Marcus Freeman floated around. You were hearing Mike Elko's name in some of these names, and he just got extended by Texas A&M, so good on their part to go ahead and get that done. But yeah, I don't know if it was that James Franklin didn't want to be in the spotlight as much as it was. I don't think any of the teams mostly in the spotlight were reaching out to him.
No,
That'd be my guess.
especially when you're 1-17 versus top 10 teams, right? Or it's just some teams are wanting the expectation to be higher. and I don't know if he can deliver. He's a great coach. I think he's a really good coach. I don't know if he's elite. So I think the schools are hesitant to not give an elite coach money.
Well, there's a lot of non-elite coaches that
That's
get
true.
money, Ben.
That's true.
I mean, there's a lot of them that are getting paid to not coach football right now because of how elite they were at their
I
last
think we
job.
should do that, man. We should get hired and then just get like literally we'd be just making bank, man. Just that's what we should do.
Yeah. Uh, Virginia Tech, like I said, they were really good when we were kids. We know
Yeah,
that the
really
football
good.
pedigree's there. The entrance with Enter Sandman
Oh,
there
it's
is
awesome.
one of the most exciting ones for a night game. And I mean, ACC, Ben, when you think about the
It's so
history of some of
bad.
the programs there, they should be right up there
Oh
with
yeah, for
the
sure.
SEC and the Big Ten, honestly. When you think of the history of the Miami Hurricanes, you think of the history of the Florida State
Clemson.
Seminoles, you think of the history of SMU, Clemson more recently, and Virginia Tech's another one of those teams where it's like, man, dude, they used to, this conference used to have so many good teams in it, or at least there's a lot of good teams in this conference that, were really
The,
good.
the
One of
Louisvilles.
the yeah, Louisville. Louisville's had some solid seasons too. So I think this is Virginia Tech uh, going around. They've had some guys come in here since Frank Beamer's been in the building that just
Hmm.
haven't panned out, and I think Virginia Tech's ready to get back there. I think James Franklin sees the potential there, and I'm
Well,
assuming since he took this job that it was with the understanding that they are going to do what they can, as far as going all out to win. And another thing to keep in mind, Penn State's had 17 decommits since he's gotten
yeah.
fired. I wonder how many are going to join him at Virginia Tech once this move got
Well,
announced.
fun fact, their last head coach was the former defensive coordinator for James Franklin at Penn State, and now he is now taking over the job that his former DC had at at Virginia Tech. Fun little fact there.
Huh.
But Josh, I know that's a big news. Again, we'll continue updating you guys as these jobs get filled. But I do think we're going to talk about a little bit about some college football, obviously. But do we want to talk about the pitiful and poor, the most incredibly lukewarm Browns, or should we talk college football first? It's up to you.
I think we just continue rolling with the college football stuff.
I agree. We're trying to as much as we can not talk about the lukewarm Browns. Um,
There was I think five-ish games, maybe six that I think are worth discussing today. And we'll just go ahead and start with a team that's been in our power ranking pretty high up that went down this weekend, and that's the Alabama Crimson Tide.
dude, they got butt whooped.
Well, not really butt whooped. It was a 2-point game, but
But it just
I
felt
think
that way, I guess. It felt at
it
times.
definitely would feel that way when you look through the box score and see how Alabama dominated about every category except turnovers. Three turnovers by the Tide Ben, and we've credited them so much this year. Ty Simpson only
We
throwing one
have. We
interception,
have.
them forcing turnovers, not turning the ball over
We're the
themselves.
curse, man. We're the curse.
Well, it finally happened. We saw so much momentum from the Tide mid-season when they were coming through like top 15 win here, top 15 win there, and more recently I think they've been losing steam and they've got some clear weaknesses like with the run game that are just, they are what they are and they're never going to get fixed, but they've been able to win in spite of
The
those.
defense looks sketchy at times.
Well, they've been able to win like over despite these weaknesses because of strengths in other areas, and they've made things without the run game work and stuff. And just this time, it's like John Mateer, I think, only had 150 total yards of
Yeah.
offense, passing and rushing, maybe 160 somewhere in that range. But yeah, Oklahoma didn't turn the ball over, and that ended up being the difference of this one, I think.
Yeah, it's really interesting this game because there's a couple Alabama fans at school, and they were telling me like we just don't understand. I'm like, well, I could tell you what happened. You just turned the ball over, and
Yeah, you shot yourself in the
and
foot. You killed so
and
many drives.
and Oklahoma, like, there's so many people like, oh, Oklahoma's good. I'm like, have you seen this offense at Oklahoma? This offense is bad right
Yeah,
now.
Oklahoma is on like life support right now,
Dude,
getting by these last
this
couple
win,
weeks.
this win, if this might boost them into the playoff, but I don't see how this team wins a game in the playoff with this offense against even a half capable team that can play good defense and play okay offense. That's just my opinion, at least. But again, this John Mateer doesn't look like the same John Mateer that we were boasting about at the beginning of the year. Ever since he got hurt, he just hasn't looked the same. Yeah, credit to their defense and their special teams, but to me, it's like Alabama's the one that lost the game for themselves. Like they had this game if they just play solid fundamental ball for 4 quarters.
No, I agree. Yeah, 23 to 21 was the final. So Alabama has Eastern Illinois this coming weekend, and then they got to go at
Whew, that's gonna be a
Auburn.
tough one. Eastern
We've
Illinois.
seen
Whew.
Auburn almost get some guys. So
Yeah.
that's going to be basically for Alabama's playoff hopes. And technically, the SEC championship game isn't mathematically eliminated from them yet. But
Yeah.
going over to Oklahoma, uh, so they lost to Ole Miss a few weeks ago by 8 points, and then they got a 6 point win over Tennessee. Then they get this 2 point win over Alabama. And now they host Missouri and LSU to end the season.
Yeah, and Missouri's about to run for 350 yards. I mean, that team runs so much.
That's what they have to do, man. You got to give your quarterback some help when you can. One team that was able to overcome turnovers, just it's like the Jesse Pinkman meme, man. He can't keep getting away with this, and it's the Michigan Wolverines and how they
Dude,
continue to win
how
games
they
and
how
not
they
cover
win.
spreads and just the ugliest fashion possible. 5 turnovers, Ben. Northwestern turns over 0 times, and Michigan still comes out with a 24 to 22 win because they had 14 more first downs. They had about 251 yards of extra total offense. They outrushed the Wildcats by about 150 yards. It's just penalties killed Northwestern too a little bit. They had about twice as much penalty yardage in this one. But yeah, Bryce Underwood might have thrown 280 yards, but he had no touchdowns, 2 picks. Jordan Marshall had a nice game in Justice Haynes' absence once again with 142 yards and a touchdown. And Andrew Marsh, true freshman wide receiver, is starting to blossom into a solid weapon for Underwood. 189 yards on 12 catches this weekend, but still 5 turnovers. You got to be, just miserable beside yourself if you're Northwestern with how this ended up going.
Yeah, I how Northwestern didn't win this game. Like, first off, Michigan is like again, it almost feels like the same thing with Oklahoma. Like they're just or like Alabama. It's like their life support is just like they're hanging on to these playoff hopes, just like the best they can. And for me, it's like I know everyone's going to say, well, in 2 weeks they play Ohio State and they have their number, but dude, this Michigan offense at times, and look, they look decent running the ball pretty much every game. The passing game is just up in the air. I mean, it depends what you get every
You
game.
don't really know what you're going to get week to
No.
week from
And
Underwood. We've
then,
seen some highs and quite a few lows.
yeah. And then you see the defense who's very inconsistent compared to normal Michigan defense. So it's an interesting game. I mean, again, like you should be Northwestern. I mean, 90% of the time. So I'm just interested to see how this goes and how they end up, you know, going through with this game or through the end of this year.
Yeah. Michigan, of course, if they win out, they do get to play in the Big Ten championship. They got to play at Maryland this coming weekend, and then they host the Buckeyes the weekend after that. So
Mm.
Wolverine's definitely a team to follow here as the stretch goes down. But another team, Ben, that looked dead in the water and was able to come back this weekend was the Aggies of Texas A&M. Or are they down
Good old
30 to
Aggies.
3 at one point, and Marcel Reed generates himself a Heisman moment after putting his team in such a losable situation. It took a school record comeback attempt. No A&M team ever came back from being down 27 before. And the Aggies pulled off. Once again, if you're South Carolina, you got to be sick. You almost, were able to hand a team in the conference their first loss of the season. Things haven't gone so well for you, and this could have been, something to hang your hat on. But yeah, A&M remains undefeated. Moves on to the next one.
Yeah. This team is just something. How do you feel? How do you feel about this team generally after
About
this?
Texas A&M?
Yeah, because to me, they should have lost this game in every phase of it, in a sense. There's a guy I work with. He's from South Carolina, and he loves South Carolina. And he walked into my room, and he's just like, "Don't say anything." That's all. That's literally all I told me. He's like, "Just don't say anything," because he goes, "They should fire Beamer tomorrow." Like I'm just like, I don't know if you look at someone said like I don't know if you look at Texas A&M as a win as like, oh, this is great. Like they showed resiliency, or is this like really you were about lost to this South Carolina team? It's an interesting concept, but I don't. they again, we both said this over the last few weeks. They've shown weaknesses in a lot of areas, and I'm interested to see when it finally bites them. Is it now? Is it NCC championship? Is it playoff? It'd be interesting to see when that happens.
So besides the 1 point win over South Carolina, we've seen them defeat Arkansas by 3. We've seen them defeat Auburn by 6. But we've also seen them defeat LSU by 24. We've seen them defeat Florida by 17. We've seen them beat a really good Notre Dame team by 1. So they do have some solid wins, but there is a lot of mixture mixed in there. Some close calls there also. This Make no mistake, A&M's undefeated, and you got to give them credit for that. Anytime you go undefeated in the Big Ten or the SEC, that's something worth noting. But they definitely can be beaten, and it probably won't be Samford this coming weekend. But keep an eye on that
Sanford.
Texas game at Austin coming up the Thanksgiving
Yeah,
weekend, and I
Texas
think
trying to
we
play
can go ahead
spoiler.
and I think we can go ahead and segue into the Longhorns and how they were only down
They
4
got
going into the fourth quarter, and then Georgia rattles off, I think, 21 unanswered. Similarly to the weekend before that I brought up, Vanderbilt outscored Texas 17 to nothing and almost pulled off a comeback in that game. Bites Texas in the butt this time, actually, because Georgia's actually a team that you can't just mess around with. You got to cut the head off of that snake that is the Georgia Bulldogs. And honestly, Georgia looks like they're getting like more and more dangerous as the weeks go on.
dare I say Georgia's the best SEC team right now. After this
They
game,
might
I think
be.
it's hard to, especially after what Texas A&M did. It's hard to kind of go against that
Yeah, I mean,
in
if
a
you want to
sense.
go by record and merit, I mean, the Aggies should be higher in the poll. But if you're talking from a power ranking standpoint, and we'll of course discuss that later in the show, uh, I think Georgia's a little more scary right now than the Aggies are.
Yeah, more complete team, I think.
Let's see. I think Iowa USC also needs to be discussed. And what a bummer for the Iowa Hawkeyes been to get back-to-back
It's
rain
rough.
games against Oregon and USC. Uh, you force them to basically play your game, and you still come out on the losing end both times. Of course, the Trojans come out here, win 26 to 21. We've seen this Lincoln Riley team get physical with teams like Michigan and Illinois, and now Iowa. It's not, a typical Lincoln Riley team that we're used to seeing, but it was going to have to get tested once again against the Hawkeyes this weekend, and they go ahead and pull it off. Maeva did get 254 and a touchdown through the air, but they also were able to overcome getting outrushed by Iowa. Uh, but again, here, one turnover for the Hawkeyes. They had twice as much penalty yardage. USC had a few more first downs. So, I mean, it was close. It was decided by 5 points at Southern Cal.
Yeah, dude, USC, man, they're this team is so interesting to me. The way that they have just kind of snuck in a weird way have kind of snuck their way into being like in the conversation for the playoff. Now, I'm really hesitant to say they're going to make the playoff because they're going to have to really help hope a lot of things happen in the Big Ten, and I think a lot of things happen around the country. But I mean, their passing attack is one of the best right now in the Big Ten and one of the best in the country. Um, and poor Iowa, man, like they've had a rough road, and again, it goes back to their offense is basically non-existent, and I think that's where I think there has to be a philosophy change at Iowa. And I know you want to keep that tradition, but look at Ohio State. Look at these other teams that like they've kept their sim identity as they've always had, but they've had to update it, right? They got to update on the firmware. And I just feel like Iowa is just always like the missing the offense piece, not the defense. It's always the offense that they're missing. At least that's my mind.
The one thing about that is this the only way that Iowa can ever be like a competitive college football team? And what I mean by that is I think Luke Fickell tried to change the identity at Wisconsin. It hasn't
Mm,
gone all that great. So if Iowa was to try to play football like Ohio State and compete with Ohio State in that way, is it
hmm
just that they're incapable and they would, sink down even worse because they can't beat Ohio State in this kind of style of play? And
mm.
the only way that they can be competitive is to just be really good at this style. I mean, does the offense have to necessarily be this awful? Probably not, but I think that that's something that's scary when you try to change identities like that. It doesn't always work, and Lincoln Riley even ran into a little bit of that. It looks like USC, was able to turn a corner there. Um, course, they're 8-2 right now. They've changed philosophies, and it, got a little bad for a little bit, but it looks like it's getting good. It's just a really hard thing to do.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how they do this because I think they have to really hope Indiana and Ohio State mess up themselves and stuff like that. But again, I think it's just going to be they might squeak in. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Just as far as Big Ten standings go right now, we were wondering if the Big Ten could have a shot at four teams in. And at least standings wise, right now, you got Indiana and Ohio State at the top. You got USC second, and you got Oregon third, or USC third, Oregon fourth, Michigan fifth.
Mm.
Four teams for the Big Ten still is possible, but it's gonna be tough to get for any of these conferences to
I
get four
think
teams, I
I think it's
think.
at least three for the Big Ten. I think at least three they'll get.
Yeah, I think it's not going to be any less than three. Speaking of these conferences, the SEC right now, as it stands, Texas A&M and Georgia are at the top. Ole Miss is third. Alabama's fourth. Uh, Texas, because they got the head-to-head, is ahead of Oklahoma, but Oklahoma has one less total loss, so that's something to keep an eye on. Vanderbilt also has just two losses, so it's some of these teams are gonna like Vanderbilt has to play Tennessee still. Like I said, Oklahoma has LSU and Missouri still. Texas still has Texas A&M. Alabama, the Iron Bowl sometimes is a dangerous game. But yeah, will the Big Ten or the SEC more likely get four playoff teams? And I think that can be our question for the comment section today for everybody to answer is
Mm.
which
I
conference more
like that.
likely gets four in, Big Ten or the SEC? Because right now both still got four teams in play. Why don't we go ahead and talk power ranking and our updated Heisman picks right now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think we just did a pretty good job covering the week that was. So
Shall I run over what we did last week?
go ahead. I know
So
we
because
had
there's
the
a little
same
shifting.
five teams in the same order as before.
Yeah, so our power rankings were I think we had the same. Yeah, we did actually have the exact same. So power rankings, Georgia was 5 for us, 4 Indiana, 3 Texas A&M, 2 Alabama, 1 Ohio State. Then for Heisman list, we had similarities. So I had Diego Pavia 5, Fernando Mendoza 4, 3 Jeremiah Smith, 2 Ty Simpson, 1 Julian Sane. You had Ty Simpson, Jeremiah Love, Jeremiah Smith, Fernando Mendoza, and Julian Sane. So that was our list from last week.
All right. Well, now that Alabama has two losses and is looking vulnerable at times with these very obvious weaknesses that don't like they're gonna get fixed anytime soon, I actually dropped them from two to out of my top five.
Wow.
Enter Texas Tech. I know. I didn't see myself
Wow.
doing it. Obviously, in a ranking, Alabama has to fall out. Maybe not necessarily in a power ranking if you still believe that they're capable of beating a lot of good teams. But right now, I just like what I'm seeing from Texas Tech more so lately. And they came out with another dominant win. I think it was over UCF this weekend. So not, the caliber of competition that Alabama played. But Texas Tech is one of those teams that's just got so many strengths going for them. They had the one loss to Arizona State, but have handled a lot of like they handled
Hmm.
Utah good, they handled BYU good, they handled Kansas State really well. Like all the good teams they've been playing Houston, they handled them well. Uh, and to end the year, they got to go ahead and play at West Virginia over Thanksgiving weekend. But yeah, I really like what I'm seeing from Texas Tech lately.
I'm kind of on that same pattern as what you just did. I've dropped Alabama out. Um, and that partly was because kind of what you said, like it didn't look like a top 5 team to me. And again, that's kind of how we look at it. And so for me, I'm like, I also love Texas Tech. I really like that team. It's a really sneaky good team in a sense. And so for me, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, and I'm actually putting Texas A&M at 5. This game scared me, even though they're undefeated, even though they haven't. There's been like 2 or 3 games where I'm like, really, they won, and that's kind of scary if you know what I mean. Like if you're a fan of a team and there's people doubting if you should have been winning games, like that's and you're undefeated and you're one of the last undefeated teams. Yeah, I'm gonna have them at 5.
All right, up to four. This I do have Texas A&M falling from three to four right here for the same reasons.
Mm,
I love the undefeated record, obviously, and that they continue to find ways to win, but they are vulnerable right now, and I think there's some teams that look a little more tough right now.
mm. Yeah, I've been kind of figuring out who I was going to put here, but I'm gonna stick Texas Tech here. I think Texas Tech is again really good. I love their defense. They spent a lot of money on their pass rush, and it's paying off. I think they did really well, and so I got Texas Tech here at 4.
All right, number three, enter Georgia. They've been in my top five, I think, a little bit, mostly because of the high floor, but they are really starting to push the ceiling. And Gunnar Stockton here had a four touchdown game, I believe, against the Longhorns, and they just got Texas' number at this point, man. This is three straight meetings over the last 2 years that they've faced each other, and Texas just ain't even in the same league as these guys. So go ahead
Yeah,
and put Georgia at three for me.
3 is going to be Indiana for me. Again, I, they're just doing what they have to do right now, and it's kind of saying we talk about Ohio State. They're winning the games they have to win, and they're going to have an easy road into the Big Ten championship as long as they keep this up.
Yeah. Uh, Two for me is Indiana. Uh, let's see. This weekend they had Wisconsin. Nothing crazy. 31-7 win. Did what they were supposed to do. Mendoza had only two incompletions, four touchdowns, just about 300 yards through the air. Uh, Indiana continues to roll, and I'm holding them at two right now.
Yeah, for me, I'm loving what Georgia's doing. I think this team is really really talented, um, and it's a team that um, I think destined to have a really good playoff run. If they can keep this run game going, which is the one thing they've struggled with at times, and they can keep the defense where it needs to be, I think this team is going to be a team that we see semifinals, dare I say. But I think it's going to be a really really good team for a while here.
Number one, another boring win with not a whole lot of drama and
No drama at all.
yeah, the Buckeyes at
Yeah,
number one.
they look
Probably
good.
the most
Even
exciting thing was that hurdle by James Peoples.
oh, that was filthy. And the fact that he finished it, but also the fact that Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate didn't play. Jeremiah Smith barely played, and I think that was a needed thing for Ohio State to see can they do this without their two guys. Um, and again, I think the defense, dude, the defense is so smothering, man. Like they give you like a glimmer of hope. They give you like one drive where they're like, "Hey, here's the end zone." Oh, never mind.
Hmm.
That's just the way they play, man. It's so much fun to watch. And Patricia's looking like he's having a blast out there. He looks like he's genuinely having fun, which is fun to see.
Oh yeah. All right, this Heisman discussion, I think at least I got a new name in this week that I don't think I've had at any point this season. We'll get to it eventually though. Starting at five, I got Jeremiah Love here. Had another dominant game on the ground against Pitt. There was questions about if Pitt could even be a test for the Irish. They had the
Hmm.
third best run defense statistically in the country. Of course, we went through their schedule. They hadn't really played a whole lot of teams to really test that. And the Irish love to run, and they were gonna, really show you how strong that defense was. Turns out it was no match for Jeremiah Love. Had about 150 yards on the ground, and for that continues his momentum and his Heisman campaign for me.
So number 5, you dropped him down a notch
Well,
this week.
there's the one guy that I threw in here. I had a hard time arguing for why he should be below, but
Yeah. And I believe Diego Pavia was on a bye, correct?
yeah, I
I
don't think
believe.
Vanderbilt played this
Yes.
weekend.
So I can't move him. So he's staying because I'm not going to be a Josh. I'm not going to be a Josh and move guys on buys. That's just not going to happen. So I'm going to leave Diego Pavia. Again, numbers speak for himself. I'm going to keep him at 5 this week.
All right, so this next guy, Ben, at number four, this is where I got Ahmad Hardy.
Dude, that dude, I was so tempted to put him in here, man. He had 300
Like you
yards,
said
man.
earlier, they're running for about
300
350 on the
yards.
ground. Ahmad Hardy's last three games.
Ridiculous.
So this is when Bo Prabula got hurt, I believe, against Vanderbilt. So you got a freshman quarterback in here that's never played before, and you got to be able to run the football and give him at least some breathing room, something that he can rely on besides just the pass game. And in these three games, Hardy has gone 97 yards against Vanderbilt, 109 yards and a touchdown against Texas A&M on just 13 carries. And then against Mississippi State this past weekend, he had 300 yards and three touchdowns. So they only won one of those games, but you can't put any blame on Hardy. They know that they want to run the ball, and he is running it at will. And the reason
Yeah.
that I got him above Jeremiah Love is just more rushing yards, I believe, and also more rushing touchdowns right now. So it's just kind of like, how are you going to make the case for Love to be ahead of him at this point? I think Hardy just had a game that was worthy of jumping him.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out, kind of where to go here because my lists are so weird. I didn't put a running back in. I should have. I didn't. I'm putting Jeremiah Smith here again. He kind of got injured, so I'm interested to see how that plays out. But I got to kind of keep him in there. I'm going to keep him at 4. He's still. I mean, he made a one-handed catch with a bum leg. Like he's just Cyclops at this point. I'm just going to keep Jeremiah Smith there at 4.
And I'm keeping, well, I think he was at 4, but Jeremiah's at 3 this week. I can't remember where he was at, but just since he was already above Love and Hardy's a new guy, I just decided to have Jeremiah Smith stay ahead of him, even with the shortened game. Still had the 40 yards on 4 catches and the highlight reel that you can take home to write
Yeah,
or write home about. So
yeah.
not any
Uh,
quarterbacks are really doing much right now to win their way in.
no.
I'm sure some people would say Marcel Reed should be in this list, but I'm very proud that I have 3 non-quarterbacks in my top 5.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. 3 for me is Fernando Mendoza. No, sorry, not Fernando Mendoza. Ty Simpson. Again, doing what he needs to do, even though he did have a rough game. I'm not going to penalize him so much, but he's definitely falling down the order. That's for sure. He's going to be at number 3 for me, Ty Simpson.
Mendoza's a 2 for me. Like I said against Wisconsin, he had himself, a Julian Sayin-esque game, and so he's holding his spot at 2 very solidly.
Yeah, number 2 for me is Fernando Mendoza. I think Fernando Mendoza is going to have a great rest of the year. I think it's going to. I can't wait to see that matchup in the Big Ten championship game. As long as it plays out the way we think it is, those two quarterbacks going at each other. Maybe it's the future Browns quarterback. I hope not, but maybe it is. So I guess we got to keep an eye on that.
Julian Sain's at 1. Like this wasn't necessarily a stat sheet dominating game, but it's because Ohio State just decided to play a lot of different guys in this one. So
Yeah, I'm. Yeah, Julian saying, man, like he threw 74%, Josh. People are complaining on a high state in the high state radio and media that he threw 74%. I'm sorry, Josh. If you're throwing 74% and that's a problem, I think you're okay. I think you're going to be okay in the long run.
they're setting a pretty high standard if that's an off game.
I know. If that if that's an off game, then I guess we're going to be I guess every quarterback now needs to throw 75% in order to be having an off game. But we'll
hmm
see.
So let's go ahead and talk about some of the big games this weekend. So this is the week before rivalry weekend, and there's usually
Yeah.
not too many big games because a lot of the big games are happening the following weekend. But I think there's some games that got some playoff implications that we definitely got to spend some time discussing today.
Mm.
But we'll start with Oklahoma, Missouri. And we've discussed how some of these teams have been playing football lately. Oklahoma seems to be on life support right now. It doesn't look like John Mateer's going to get any more healthy. You can't count on that run game. It has its moments, but you can't count on it to be there consistently. But you can count on the defense. And we do have a really good Oklahoma run D right here, which is worth bringing up because, like I just said, Ahmad Hardy's been basically the Tigers' game plan over at Missouri just with the injury at quarterback, like I said. So against Mississippi State, I'll go ahead and read some of the statistics here again, just how uh, Zollers has been playing at quarterback in relief for Bo Prabula. He came in against Vanderbilt, had 138 yards, a touchdown, no picks. Against A&M, he only had 77 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. He only completed 7 of 22 attempts also. And then Mississippi State, 8 of 15, 112, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Like I said, they clearly want to run the football and take some heat off of this kid. And if you're Oklahoma, it's like you got to feel pretty good about your run D. you really didn't get tested on that against Alabama because they didn't have a run game that really was going to be a threat. But to me, that's what this game is going to be all about is if Oklahoma can contain that Miss or not Mississippi, Missouri run game because there's nothing offensive on Oklahoma that excites me.
No, I agree with you. There's nothing that really, as I would say, piques my eye. Um, so I'm interested to see how this game goes, to be honest with you. I don't think Oklahoma's going to pull this out. What do you think the score is going to be? I'm trying to guesstimate my score.
Well, Oklahoma is a 7.5 point favorite at home, and the over-under is only 42.5. They're thinking like a 23-17 or a 24 to 17 kind of game is what they're calling.
And you're leaning what again?
It's hard to say because it's like just with how one-dimensional Missouri is even right now, but at least they got something that they can rely on offense, and Oklahoma really doesn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I,
I
I'm.
my
Go ahead.
gut says Oklahoma, but I just can't with my brain pick them to win.
Yeah, I,
At the very least, I don't think they're covering 7.5. Give me Missouri points for sure,
I'm
but
gonna go. I think I'm gonna go Missouri 24, Oklahoma 20. That's what I'm gonna go with. I just
actually
want.
I'm gonna go Oklahoma here, 20 to
Mm,
17, and turnovers once again end up being the factor in here to why Oklahoma wins.
ooh, I like Josh getting a
I'm
little going
I'm just going
for
with
it.
my gut, and after you said Missouri, is like, you know what? I'll pick different. I'll pick different.
You'll be different.
Uh, USC and Oregon. So the spread here caught my attention because Oregon's a 10.5 point favorite,
Yeah.
even though they haven't really been all that exciting lately, and USC's proven that they can be physical. Both of these teams had a rain game against Iowa that they were able to come out and win. And at least right now, as it stands, there's rain in the forecast for Eugene, Oregon too, Ben. So it's not like
Ooh.
any of these quarterbacks are really going to have weather that favors a strong air attack. Although, you know, Dante Moore and Jay Maya love to throw the rock around. But yeah, that's what we're looking at right now. So go ahead and tell me
Yeah.
what you're thinking of this one. Just so everyone knows, Oregon's last three games, they've defeated Minnesota 42 to 13, Iowa
Yeah.
18 to
They've been playing
16,
well.
and Wisconsin 21 to 7. Meanwhile, USC has defeated Iowa 26 to 21, Northwestern 38 to 17, and Nebraska 21 to 17.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, I think I'm leaning more towards I'm gonna go Oregon. I like the way Oregon's been playing. Again, Dante Moore is still looking rough at times, but I really love the run game that has been balancing that pass game, and their defense has been stepping up. And again, I have to see USC run the ball a little bit more to be more balanced. But I'm gonna say Oregon wins this. I'm gonna go 27-24 Oregon.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go Oregon also, and it's mostly because when USC has been in these spots before, they haven't really been able to show up. And Notre Dame was probably that team this season where it's like, okay, Notre Dame is a team that's clearly better than you guys. How are you going to compete? And they lose that one by 10.
Yeah.
So if USC is going to be the team that's better than them, I still got to see it before I'm ready to pick it. So give me the Ducks. I think that 10.5 point spread is kind of large. So I'm going to say USC points in this one. But Oregon 29-24 Ducks.
We're somewhat similar this week. We're somewhat similar this week.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We got Pitt and Georgia Tech now, Ben. Pitt is at Georgia Tech, and while Pitt's playoff hopes are crushed after Pat Narduzzi said it
Yeah.
didn't matter if they beat Notre
That
Dame
was
or
so
if they lost
annoying.
by
That
100,
was
like
that
way
was
to get
so
your team
dumb.
up for that one.
Way to
Yeah.
hype them up, man.
But this is
It's
the
okay
game
to
that
suck.
matters. This is the game that matters, Ben, because it's conference play. So we'll see if they get up for it. But
And the
Georgia
ACC is so
Tech,
bad, anyways.
yeah, the ACC is bad, but as it stands right now, I believe Georgia Tech is in first, and they've been vulnerable. They just escaped Boston College by 2 this past weekend. They lost to NC State the weekend before that, uh, and then the week before that, they beat a really bad Syracuse team 41 to 16. But even still, being the best team in the ACC, The playoff poll, we'll find out where they rank them today, but the AP had them ranked 16th this week. Pitt's still in the
Hmm.
top 25 at 22, and Georgia Tech is a 2.5 point favorite at home. If things still stand, that Pitt's run defense, just got bulldozed by a legit run game. You know that Haynes King loves to run the football, and so do the,
Dude, he's gonna run it
the
like
Yellow
20
Jackets over
times. You
here.
watch.
It's going to be a lot.
I,
It's
I
definitely a part of their game to
well,
run the football, and Pitt's going to have to hope that they can heal from their wounds from Jeremiah Love and come and maybe do a
well,
little
you
more
already know
containing
that
this week.
you already know Narduzzi's comments annoyed the crap out of me. So I don't even like want to give them a shot, to be honest with you. Part of me is just like to me, I think Haynes King is very underrated, and I think Georgia Tech's going to pull this one out. I think Georgia Tech will win this game, and I think by 2 touchdowns. I'm gonna go 35-21 Georgia Tech.
Like I said, Georgia Tech's 2.5 point favorite. They got an over under at 62.5, so they're thinking like a Georgia Tech 32 to 30 game. Uh,
Talk about a scoring game there.
yeah. I'm going to be different than you again, Ben, and I'm going to pick Pitt. I think this is where Georgia Tech croaks, and I don't think the ACC is going to have any undefeated or one-loss teams going into conference championship weekend. And if it's not this weekend, maybe it'll be when the Yellow Jackets play Georgia the following weekend and Dogs get them. That won't be a conference game though. So go ahead and give me Pitt in this one. I do think that there will be a little points in this one. Maybe not quite 62.5, but I'll go Pitt 30 to 27. It's going to be close.
Ooh, tough games there.
Yeah. Big one out in the Big 12, BYU at Cincinnati. And Vegas hates BYU, Ben. They keep giving them these
They
tiny
do.
little spreads.
They do hate him so much.
At Cincinnati, BYU is 2.5. And I think last weekend when they played, was it TCU? TCU actually, they might have even been the favorite, or it was just like 1.5 or two again in that one.
Yeah.
And Texas Tech, while they did win and cover, they were pretty heavy favorited in that one over BYU. So Vegas doesn't think very highly of BYU. And personally, I still think BYU's right where they should be in the rankings, probably should be a little higher. Uh, I know that we've spoken really highly of Sorsby, the quarterback over there. But since we did speak very highly of him is when Cincinnati lost to Utah 45
He's
to
done
14,
awful.
and then they lost to Arizona 30 to 24. While Arizona is 7-3, they're a solid team. They're not ranked, but they still are solid. Sorsby in that one, 15 to 28, 154 yards, a touchdown, two picks, and just 30 yards on the ground. So, is this three straight losses for the Bearcats? It certainly looks like it in my book.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to go which way you want to go on this. What did you say that they have each team as the who they have the favorite in this one?
They got BYU minus 2.5.
I just don't think BYU comes out and lays an egg again. I don't. I don't think so. And I don't think Cincinnati has woken up from that shellacking they felt. So for me, I'm going to take BYU. And I think this is going to. I hate to say this because it's an Ohio kid, but I'm going to say BYU wins this by 2 touchdowns. I'm going to go like 28-14. I just don't think Cincinnati's going to have the firepower right now.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati, now that the playoff hopes are down, like, not that they ever really were going to be considered a legit playoff contender, but they had something to play for there. They can be the team that knocks BYU's playoff hopes out here because I think BYU stands to really fall if they lose another game here, just because of these small little margins that Vegas has given them and how much they or how low they've been in the poll in general. I think that the committee's just waiting to drop them. I think they come out here and win by a few scores, though. I think Cincinnati's just on a slide right now, and I think BYU is going to continue to play with a chip on their shoulder. We got a 54.5 over under here, so they think that this is going to be something along the lines of like 27 to, or no, 28 to 26, somewhere in that range. But yeah, give me BYU by two scores, and I think it's going to be BYU 35 to like 17.
Hmm. Yeah. Tough game.
Um, yeah, I won't really discuss a lot of the other games that are going on. I mean, Louisville's playing SMU. They're both 7-3, going on the ACC. We got let's see, Arkansas at Texas. Hopefully Texas doesn't. just throw in the towel now that they seemingly are out. Some people think they can still make the playoffs as a three-loss team just because of the wins that they got, but I don't know about that one. And then Michigan, like we said, is at Maryland. Hopefully, they're not looking ahead too much to Ohio State and screw themselves this time around. I don't
Yeah.
think they can continue to keep getting lucky like they have. And then Tennessee's at Florida. This probably should have, not probably, this should have been a much bigger matchup than what it was. But instead, it's Tennessee is only 3.5 point favorite in this one. But I don't think either, yeah, none of these teams got playoff chances. Both of them should have still been in the playoff hunt at this point of the season. And just another rivalry game that doesn't have any meaning in the national landscape, at least.
Yeah.
We can go ahead and wrap up in the NFL, Ben.
Yeah.
Uh, Unsurprisingly, the Browns lost to the Baltimore Ravens this weekend.
They
And
lost
depending on
terribly.
which camp you fall in, maybe also unsurprisingly, Shador Sanders was terrible in his debut. And he didn't make his debut as the starter in this one. He came in relief for Dylan Gabriel, who left with an injury. Gabriel was actually 7 for 10, 68 yards in this one when he came out. And Shador comes in,
It looks
goes
so bad.
416 with 47 yards, zero touchdowns, a pick, gets sacked twice, but still was on a potential game-winning drive that ended up falling flat. Uh, he did have a pass that was dropped. I'll give him credit for that. Another pass in the end zone, he overthrew the guy. Another pass in the end zone, it hit his receiver's hands, but a defensive back was able to break it up with his hands. So there was moments that I guess that you're like, ah, dang, the team didn't really help him out much here, but there's also plenty that Shador did to inflict some hate on himself. And I think coming out, telling the crowd, waving his hands up to make noise, like that was a mistake from the get-go. It's like you're a fifth round pick, brother. You've been the third string quarterback starting off this season at like you're nothing special right now. You haven't done anything in this league and he comes out with this stat line. I've said a lot about what he did, so I'll let you go ahead and share some thoughts, and then I'll share some
No,
some more that I got.
I just think that this is going to be a very hot take, but maybe there's a reason he wasn't getting reps with the first team.
That's been the
I,
biggest defense of Shador is, well,
I'm
how
just
can
saying.
he do well in a situation like this if he's not getting first team reps? And
I,
yeah, maybe there's a reason
hmm,
for that.
maybe he doesn't know the playbook as well. Like maybe he is worried about the things outside of football. I don't know. What I do know is like, yeah, his receivers could have helped him there a little bit, but like that interception he threw, where was he throwing it? There wasn't a guy within 10 feet of that ball. So I don't know what's going on. Again, you are wasting as much as I know Josh and I have our own thoughts on Garrett, but you're wasting a generational talent. A
You're
guy who's
objectively wasting
literally
Myles Garrett. Yeah. He's got
you're
the most sacks in the
literally
league right now with 15. His last three games, he
he's on
has
pace
10
for
sacks.
26. He's on pace for 26 sacks in a season and you're not even going to use that to help you. It's bonkers.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the defense was that maybe he should have had more first team reps so he could have been ready, but of course maybe there's a reason for that. Second, this game plan was, for Dylan Gabriel the starter, so they probably didn't have
Then
a plan
adjust.
designed specifically for
Then
Shador, so
adjust.
they were just as equally fumbling around as a coaching staff trying to get plays that he can be comfortable in also, but still, too, like to make your first start against the Ravens, and I know their defense didn't start off the greatest at the start of the season, but lately they have held the Rams to 17, the Bears to 16, the Dolphins to 6, the Vikings to 19, now the Browns to 16. So took them a little while to figure it out, but that defense has some studs on it and has definitely cleaned things up.
Yeah.
Not an easy team to make your debut against, but there wasn't really a whole lot that I was necessarily excited about seeing Shador on the field as much as it was. I already know what we got with Dylan Gabriel, so go ahead and give me a handful of Shador starts and see what we got with him. And I'm expecting it's not going to be much better than what we got with Dylan Gabriel.
No, I agree. And I don't think they win this game either. So,
And by this game, you mean against the Raiders
yeah,
at Vegas?
I think Raiders beat them. I've lost faith, man. I've Hey, let's just
The
go for the
Raiders
number
look
one
pretty
pick.
bad too against Cowboys this past weekend, but
Let's just go number one
man,
pick.
yeah. So if Shador does continue to be the starter, he will get starts at Vegas, at home against the 49ers, at home against the Titans, at Chicago against the Bears. There's still a lot of games left this season, man. At this
I
point,
know.
yeah, we are only 10 games in. We got seven more to go.
It is wild to think about.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't really have anything else crazy to say
No, I don't
about
either.
Cleveland. I'd like to go around and just do a little general where we're at in the NFL since we are 10 games into the season now.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Revisit maybe some of our preseason picks. So with the remaining time that we got here, maybe the last 10 minutes. AFC East, New England stands on top at 9-2 with the best
Wild.
record, tied with the best record or for the best record in the AFC.
So I guess someone else other than Bill can win? Hmm.
Maybe somebody else other than Bill can win. I picked them to finish second in this division because I thought the schedule favored them and they did a lot to fix the defense. But Drake May's also been playing some pretty good football.
I agree.
Buffalo is 7-3 in second. Miami in third, 4-7. The Jets 2-8. They're very much in contention of that first pick also. AFC North, Ben. Pittsburgh is on top with 6-4, but Baltimore is gaining some steam. They're now 5-5. Cincinnati's 3-7. Cleveland 2-8. Sometimes this division is the best in football. I feel like it's one of the worst divisions in football this
I
year.
100% agree.
The Colts at 8-2, they had a bye, and I didn't realize how much I missed Jonathan Taylor's 40 points until my team only put up 67 total. But Colts on top of that division at 8-2. The Jags, who we would have loved to have seen suck, so
Of
that we could have
course
had
aren't.
another high pick
Of
in
course
Cleveland, are
aren't.
6-4.
Of
Yep, that
course.
pick's probably going to be in the teens. Houston's 5-5, still struggling over there. And then Tennessee could get the first pick. Right now, they would have the first pick if the season ended today at 1-9. Denver, Ben, they might be the most fraudulent 9-2 team. I know they're tied with New England, but they did come out with a 3-point win over the Chiefs this last
Yeah.
weekend. But before that, they defeated the Raiders, they defeated the Texans, they defeated the Cowboys, the Giants, the Jets. Got to give them credit for beating the Eagles. They beat the Bengals also, and then also got a win over the Titans.
Mm.
It's not the strongest of schedules, I'll just say that. Behind them,
No.
though, the Chargers are still hanging in there at 7-4, even though Justin Herbert continues to get sacked a dozen times because both his tackles are out for the season. No Rashawn Slater or Joe Alt, of course, over there. Um, and in third, Kansas City, we thought that they might be on the decline at the start of the season. Maybe not quite to third, maybe second, but they are third right now at 5-5. And then Vegas is 2-8. The Eagles, Ben, I thought they might be in trouble. Not necessarily to the point where they sink to like only a 10-win team, but I just thought there was a lot of unanswered questions that they were going to have to address with some of the pieces that ended up leaving, some of the coaches that left. But here they are at 8-2, first place in the NFC East, defeating good teams like the Lions, the Packers, uh, the Buccaneers, the Rams.
Mm.
They just continue to cruise over here. Dallas is in second at 4-5-1. Washington, who I thought had a shot to make the Super Bowl this year, just with the piece that they got for Jaden Daniels. And Daniels has been hurt. I know the receivers McLaurin and Deebo Samuel have also been hurt. They're 3-8, not shaping up to be the year that they thought they're going to
No.
have over there in Washington. The Giants are 2-9, but they are probably the most exciting 2-9 team with what we got to see from Cam Scatterbo, what we've seen
Yeah.
from Jackson Dart. You would not know the Giants are 2-9 with how the media talks about them either, but they are.
No.
NFC North, the Bears, first place at 7-3, over Detroit and Green Bay. Didn't see that one coming.
No.
Green Bay,
Not at all.
Green Bay 6-3-1, Detroit 6-4. So they're not under 500. They're still hanging in there. They're close, but Chicago's been one of the more surprising teams I think this year. And then the Vikings are in last, like I think we both predicted them to finish last again, 4-6. Not looking good for JJ McCarthy so far.
I agree.
NFC South. The Bucks are first at 6-4. Carolina, Ben, is second at 6-5. And they've been winning all these games as the underdog in Vegas most of the time. I think they've been the underdog just about every single game they've played this year, except maybe a couple. But here they are at 6-5, second place, ahead of Atlanta, who's 3-7, and New Orleans, who's 2-8. Then wrapping it up in the NFC West, you got the Rams at 8-2. They're looking hot. Seattle's looked hot, 7-3. Sam Darnold, Jackson Smith, and Jigba connection is real. That duo of Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker is also tough. 49ers are hanging in there. They're 7-4. They haven't gone away yet. Still staying above the water with even having guys like Brock Purdy out at times. Then Arizona 3-7. Looks like Kyler
Mm.
Murray's going to be out for a little while, and Jacoby Brissett came in relief and had a pretty big game this past weekend. It didn't lead to a
Set
win,
an NFL record.
but he did set an NFL record. Yes, what was it? Total completions?
Yeah, 47. 47 to
47
57.
completions. Yeah.
And Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't there, and he's on my fantasy team, and he wasn't even playing. It's so annoying. The one game.
Yeah, I think just going through after reading all those, I think in my book, the most surprising team this year has to be the Carolina Panthers.
Oh, for
And while,
sure. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah, to be in this position right now, just a half game back of the division, and then probably the most disappointing, while there is reasons for it, injuries and whatnot, I think that still has to be the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, I agreed. Yeah, that one's disappointing. I think even looking at like the Packers as well is a little bit of a down year as well. But yeah, I think that's everything for the show today.
Yeah,
Um,
that's where we're at in the NFL, just
yeah.
10 games in. Of course,
And what was the question you
anything
wanted
can
to
happen.
ask the peeps?
The question for the comment section was going to be who's more likely to get four playoff teams? Is it going to be the SEC or the Big Ten?
That's a tough one, and I think I'll add on top of that. Do we see multiple non-quarterbacks at the Heisman ceremony this year? That's my question. That's a question that will be
I hope
debated
so,
among
man.
many. It's
I
debated
think
among
I
many.
think you could end up having like they could end up making it Ty Simpson, Marcel Reed, Fernando Mendoza, Julian Sim. I would hate that,
I
but
think they should put Jeremiah Love and Jeremiah Smith in there. Add the Jeremiahs.
get him in there. Get him
Get
in
him in
there.
there. Anyways, I hope you guys had an amazing time. If you've loved watching this episode on YouTube, go hit that thumbs up button, subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And if you love listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and let us know. Let us know. Let your answers down there below. And yeah, have a great weekend. And until next time, we'll see ya.